Welcome to the Matt Beck Podcast. Woke up this way. He's got a lot of cool stuff he's gonna show you today. The latest news, industry topics, and business tips. For all hairstylists and salon owners, it's time to flip the script. Grab your precision scissors, barber combs, and swivel twist razors. Let's cut a bob, a quick shag, pixie cut with a little bit of flavor. Check out the live classes, product reviews, let's rock on. Don't forget to check out freesaloneducation.com. I woke up this way. It's gonna be a great day. Chop it, clip it, spray it, flip it. I woke up this way.
What's up? What's up? Oh, good to see all of you guys. Welcome to the show. Today, I've got a fun class planned for you guys, but I did have quite a few technical difficulties getting on here today. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to text everyone right now. I can see you guys loading on. It's good to see you guys. Steven, Kathy, wonder what happened to you. Nothing happened. The internet something was wrong with the internet. All right, so let's see. I'll let you guys get logged on. Mondays are not your friend. That's the truth. You're right. When will your shears be back in stock? Did we sell out? If we sold out, I'll have to get that answer for you guys. All right, happy Monday, happy Monday. I'm just gonna text everybody that's on our text line. If you guys aren't on the text line, this is why it's important, because when I screw things up in the morning and I can't figure out how to get the internet going, I'll text you as soon as we're back live. So here we go, sorry. Technical difficulties. But I'm back. Here is the link. Come join. All right. Oh, got to select people. So if you're on the text, you're about to get a text. If you're not on the text, you're not going to get a text, but you should sign up. So just text me 215-608-2612. That'll put you right on the list, and I'll have all of your contact information. So when I go live and I do these classes, I can text you guys and let you know what's going on. So all we have to do for this show today, it's free. You don't have to pay for it. That's the beauty of free salon education. All I ask is that you share, use one of these links on the side here. Share on Facebook, share on Twitter, wherever you're at, wherever you're watching. I see all of you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We got tons of people on today. So I'm trying to see. Let me refresh this so I can see our numbers here. Very cool. I see it. All right. Tons of people on here, guys. So thank you so much. Make sure that you share the show so we can get this thing going. Also, join in the chat. If you're new, type new. I want to see all the new people. Plus, we've got some of our original people that have been here for 29 episodes straight. So they'd like to say hi to you as well. So make sure you type new in the chat. Also, if you have a question during the class, type Q and then put your question. Type Q, then put your question. The other thing I'd love to know is that where are you from? Where are you watching from? Post that in the chat as well. Let's get this chat rolling. Let's get everybody talking. It's going to be really fun. We're going to have a great time today. All right, let's see here. What's up? All the new people. Deborah, Steven, good to see you. Bianca, good to see you. Lynn, you're welcome. You're very, very welcome. I can also pop up your questions here. So all of you guys that are saying new now. Adam, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Ryan, Ari, I got something super exciting coming out, an announcement to make. We're going to be doing, I don't know if I can say it yet. I'll say it tomorrow for sure, but something really cool. It's going to be more of a worldwide thing. It's not the shop yet, but it is something that will bring us even closer together. Some different interactive things that we can do. So I'm going to be announcing that tomorrow. I just have a meeting today. I got to figure a couple things out, and then we'll know it's a go by tomorrow. What is the number to text? It's right here, 215-608-2612. Just text me, say hi, and let me know your favorite part about the show, what you want to learn in a future show. Let me know. Just text it to me, and that'll get the conversation started. A lot of people from India today. Awesome. Love it. Columbus, Ohio. Welcome. Texas. Cool. Michigan. More India people. Awesome. All right, cool. So California. Good to see you, Robert. All right, difference between balayage and highlights. We'll talk about that today. So that's what I really want to start discussing with you guys. So today's class is going to be super fun. We're going to do a color technique. The one thing I want you guys to understand is that this is a live class. So I could have done a pre-done, but what I don't want to do is waste mannequins. So I don't want to do a pre-done and then do the class. And then now I've got two mannequins with the same technique on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys this bricklay balayage technique that was inspired by a different video that I saw. It also has a nice money piece in the front. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a super bright highlight that kind of frames the face. So we're going to work on that as well today. And then tomorrow when you tune into the show, which is going to be at a different time, and I'll talk about that later too. When you tune into the show tomorrow, you'll see the end result, and then we're going to give it a haircut. So that's kind of how we're going to roll this episode. So if you're watching this and you're not watching it live, just understand that this is episode 29. Just watch episode 30 and you'll see the end result. I'll also re-edit this technique down to like a 12-minute video and repost it on our YouTube channel as well so that you guys out there that want to consume it quicker, watch it differently, you'll be able to see the end result and see the technique in 12 minutes or so. So that's the plan. Hope you guys are excited about it. I was rushing around like crazy trying to get this thing going live today. So I'm going to catch my breath for a sec, and we're going to get started. So if you guys, again, if you have questions, type Q in the comments. I can see you on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the channels. Kristen can only hang for a few minutes. That's cool, Kristen. You can always rewatch it. Thank you for being here. All right, guys. So I'm going to, let me pull this off the screen. There we go. So today, my tool of choice is going to be Joico Free Play. It's a clay-based lightener. I love it. Consistency and lift is great. I love the consistency of the product as well. So I feel like I get good saturation on the hair. The difference, those of you guys, let me catch my breath. Here we go. Actually, I'm going to put on a little music in my ears here. So the biggest difference, or the difference between balayage lightener and regular lightener, is that it's a clay-based lightener. It stays wet longer. So a typical lightener, when you put it on the hair, it dries up pretty quick. That's why we put it in a foil, incubate it, and that's how it gets its lift. What a clay-based lightener does is it wraps around the hair and it kind of incubates it itself. So it creates its own foil outer shell, and then the inner shell stays moist so that way it creates that lift underneath. So that's kind of the key to that. Let me zoom in here. Okay. Let's see. Most of that was probably out of focus. That's okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is clay-based lighteners, it's kind of up to you what consistency you want. So what I'm going to do is 2 scoops, just so that I don't run out of product in this class. For you guys, less is more, so try not to go overly with your scoops because you don't want this to be processing in the bowl. So throughout the technique. The good thing about this current technique that we're going to be doing is it's quick. It's only half the head, but it looks like a full head. So that's the result that we're going for. Let me put this down here. All right, so I get the lightener in the bowl, and then I'm going to mix it with 40 volume developer. So the reason I use 40 volume developer is because I want that power in the lift. A lot of you guys use 40 volume developer with clay-based lighteners. They're not as harsh as some of the other lighteners that we use, so I'm not afraid of damage, but I want that power in the lift as I'm working. So I'm going to mix that up. I don't like to use a balayage brush. That's just my personal preference. I like to use a standard brush, so I don't try to do anything fancy, and I like firm bristles on my brush, just a personal preference. So I'm going to mix this up and try to get it about like a toothpaste consistency. That's my goal. That's what I'm looking for. So maybe go less with the developer as you're mixing, and then if you need to add more, add more. You obviously don't want to keep adding powder to it. to create the consistency that you're looking for. So I'd rather start slow and work my way up. New Jersey, what's up? Ruth, good to see you. See you later, Kristen. Do you always use clay-based lightener? Jess, I use it for balayage always, yes. It's not very typical that I would use powder lightener for balayage just because it expands. So if you notice in a foil, like it kind of expands and grows. If you do that on a balayage technique, it's going to bleed. So that's kind of our goal there. We don't want that to happen. All right. So I got my lightener mixed up. I'm going to put on my gloves. Let's see. Where do I find episode 30? Patricia, it hasn't happened yet. If you're just looking for the end result, we haven't done it yet. That'll happen tomorrow. So you'll find it on our, it's actually a good question. Did you ask that on YouTube? Yeah, you did. So Patricia, right here on our YouTube channel, you'll see it tomorrow. So we'll be doing it tomorrow. Now, I have an appointment in the morning that's going to kill my 12 o'clock start time. So I'll probably be starting this class. You'll get a text, guys, later. That appointment is a dentist appointment. So super fun. And they're numbing me. That's the problem. So they're numbing me. So I will be out of commission for a few hours until it wears off, because I'm not doing a class with a numb face. That's for sure. So, all right. So we got our mannequin here. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Oh, that's the wrong way. Here we go. Okay. Cool. Let me see. Let me know if I'm going to brighten it up a little bit for you guys. There we go. That should help a little bit. Okay. I know I have a black shirt on, so we'll work through it. All right, so I'm going to let her down just a little bit. Now, the sectioning for this is going to be really simple. So she's got a center parting right now. We're going to base this technique off of a center parting. I will explain how you could do it with a side parting as well. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go mid-crown, so just like this. I'm going to work my way down, and then I'm going to come across that parietal ridge area. So I'll try to keep my arm out of the way for you guys. So just like that, separating the front and the back. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Just like that. I'm going to rip her head off, just like that. There we go. And then I'm going to take that fringe area. So all this hair is going to come up into my hand here. Crystal, it's 215. Here. There you go. 215-608-2612. All right. So I section this up. Let's check the balance here in the mirror. So I'm going to take this side. And once we have that balance, then we can section this off and away. So just like that. So we created a U-shaped section on top of the head. And now there's only 2 more sections I'm going to create in this technique, and then we will get started. So clip away the top. Now the next section I'm going to create is just to separate this face frame area a little bit. All right, phone number's going away, guys. And I did have somebody in the last class on Friday talk about the captions. So Facebook does live captions in front of the work that's happening. You guys can go right in your settings button on this video, and you can turn those captions off if you don't need them. So there's no way I can control that, but you can control it for sure. All right, so section away this little chunk out of the temple area, like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side here. Comb that over and away. So now the last thing I'm going to do, because we're not really going to do anything to this back portion, what I would do in the salon is probably just color it with a demi right here. Let's see. Focus, focus. There we go. All right. So what I would do is probably color this with a demi in the salon here, but for this technique, I'm just going to show you the lightener portion. So I'm going to twist this up, clip it away. I want to get it completely out of the way as I work. It's a weak clip. All right. So we've got this sectioned out. So the top U shape, that's what we're going to be working on. These two side sections we're going to work on later. And then the back we're not going to touch. So that's kind of the key to this technique, is making it quick, simple, and getting really nice results quickly. So now I'm going to start working on the top. I've got my lightener ready. Let me do this so you guys can see. All right, cool. Actually, I'm going to go a little closer so you guys can see even better. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. And I'm going to focus myself. Okay, so here is our U-shaped section. I'm going to take that clip out, and the first section that I'm going to take is going to be straight horizontal across the top. The rest I'm going to lay it forward, and I'm going to start by balayaging this back section. Get to me, Trace. Here we go. It's coming over here. Come on, little guy. There we go. That's the stuff. All right. So I got this nice horizontal section here. Good morning, Sandra. Good to see you. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple little tease sections just because this is in the crown. I won't do this the whole time, but I want to soften this crown a little bit. What that does is it takes some of the hair and pushes it up out of the way, so it'll soften any lines that we may create doing our technique. Now, I'm going to start by really painting on heavily in this mid-shaft area, the lightener. And then what I'm going to do is once I get that on there and I work it off the brush a little bit, now I'm going to start pushing it up towards the top. So I'll pinch the hair in my fingers and I'm just going to work this line, and I'm going to go heavier towards the sides, and we'll create almost like a V shape in this section. So you can see we leave a little gap in there, and I just work my way up to the top. Now, if you can see the hair through your section, it means you don't have enough lightener on the section, okay? So as I work through, I want to make sure that I'm pretty heavily saturated and also not really saturated too much underneath, because that's going to lay down, and I don't want that laying on the other hair and creating any like any bleed marks or anything like that. Now, I could put saran wrap over this, probably would in the salon, probably just forgot to bring it over here, and it's way over in the other room. So I would saran wrap this just to keep everything separated as I work through it. But you don't have to. It's just you have to be way more careful if you don't do it, okay? Does that make sense? So now we've done a horizontal line across here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a diagonal line back this way. So this is where we were going to create almost like a crisscross technique. So just like this, across here. And now I've got a diagonal line coming back this way. You could tease it if you want a nice broken up base. I don't need to do that at this point anymore because it's not in that center crown area, so I'm not as worried about it falling not blended, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to paint, and I'm going to work that mid shaft first, get it heavily saturated with the lightener, and then I'm going to paint up to the base. Same thing on the opposite side here, leaving that V in the center. Now, once I get it here, I'm going to paint through the ends. Again, heavy saturation on the section. Again, guys, remember, if you have a question, type Q and then put your question. So Q and then your question. Monique's asking, let's see, as we go through it, if you're working with shorter layers in the crown, should your U shape be sectioned lower? That's totally up to you, and I think that's a great observation. So yes, as you're working through a section of hair, if you feel like you need to take it a little deeper because it works for the haircut, then absolutely do that. All right. Now another diagonal forward parting, just like this. Coming down, and now we're going to work off to this side of the head. Same thing. So saturating that center, and then I'm going to paint up. Yeah, Paula. It's Joico Clay Lightener, so somebody must have asked. This is free play from Joico. And 40 volume. So heavy saturation, paint it up to the base, leave that V, really feathering out my line, and I'll show you guys what that looks like here. Turn it a little bit. So you can see heavy, but then feathered out and softened throughout the base there. Okay. So now we've got our center horizontal, then we went diagonal, and now we're going to go horizontal again. Let's get some good vibes going. All right. So horizontal line, it's basically going to be a triangle taken out of this center portion. What I mean by that is it comes back to a V in there. So that is kind of the beauty of this whole thing, is that balayage looks really great when you take it in triangles anyways, and then this is just a bigger way of doing it across the top. Love all the good vibes music. That's rad. I need to find more. That's my goal this week. Get some more good vibes going. How thick are your sections? Who's asking that question? Tanya. So Tanya, sections are about an inch, right? So they're pretty big sections, but that's only in the depth part. Along the edge, it goes about to 1/8 of an inch. So the parts that I'm painting actually pretty high are the smallest part of the section. The depth in here is the 1-inch part that I'm not even really painting. So, so it's more of a triangle shape than a straight across section throughout it. Hopefully that helps. Okay. Would the size of your sections change based on the client's hair texture and density? Yes, 100%. So I'm taking pretty thick. She's got medium density. So I'm taking pretty thick sections throughout this. If she had fine hair, I'd probably take smaller for sure. Just because I wouldn't feel the need to heavily, because there's less hair per square inch or whatever, I would just say I didn't want to paint too much in one spot that kind of overtook her whole head, right? So she's got less hair to paint, so I don't want to paint a lot more on it. I want to paint less. So another diagonal section. So we did horizontal here. Now we're going diagonal forward. Painting. And you can mix it up, guys. Like this is where, for me, cutting hair, you have to be very precise. Coloring hair, and I never claim to be a color expert. I say this all the time. I color hair to make money. I cut hair and I do it for free because I love it. So coloring hair for me is about getting things done as efficient and quick as possible so I can get to the haircut. And I want it to enhance my haircut, right? So this is a great way to create almost like a full head highlight look, but only doing half the work, and you still get a great end result. So there you go. Now I'm going to lift up the hair here, and we're going to work diagonal back. So you can see that. And again, if you guys are just tuning in, you can definitely use saran wrap to separate the sections, or a clear plastic. What we use in the salon is not really saran wrap. It's a lot easier to work with. Harder to see this section, so I'm just going to quickly get through it here. Let's see. But yeah, we don't use straight up saran wrap. It might look like it, but it's not. Why aren't you doing the back bottom? So it's a great question. Most of the time, like let's say a client comes in and she already has some highlights. So this is a great way to not have to worry about those underneath pieces. And you could just work on toning them. That's why I said I'd probably just do a demi underneath. Most people are not coming in with one level brown hair. If she did have one level brown hair, then I may just do a quick little kind of feather hand paint throughout the bottom and then do this technique on top. Most people have some highlights and they just want something new, something fresh. So I could go through, focus on this U shape, do the whole technique, focus on the front, the sides, all of that, things that they're going to see. And then the underneath is already going to be deeper anyways, naturally, because naturally our hair doesn't get hit by the sun underneath. So it's typically already a little bit darker, if that makes sense. Why are you not teasing each section? That's okay. Everything's okay as long as the result's good, right? So I think we get a little too carried away with teasing. You don't have to tease everything, right? So I did tease the first section because it was in the crown and I wanted to soften the crown. But I don't tease everything. Here she goes. She's on an elevator. I don't tease everything because I don't have to. It just takes more time. As long as I'm careful as I'm going through it on the base, I don't have to really worry about it getting too much. When does the developer stop developing? I think the best rule to think of is if the lightener dries up is when the product's going to really quit working. Developer will stay wet for a while. It's the lightener that starts to dry, but when they're mixed together, they dry quickly together. So just make sure that you have a great amount of saturation and you don't mix your product too dry. Like I said before, clay-based lightener is first going to create an outer shell over the hair, which will help incubate it and keep the interior not dry, like moist. And then that will give you the lightness inside of the product, which is what you want. And that's the difference between clay-based lightener and powder foil lightener. All right. Do you always have to tone balayage? Now, I don't want to say always, but I want to say yes. Because bleach is not a color. And that's kind of something I've tried to preach for years in my classes. Bleach isn't a color, so what you want to be able to do, and we're going to go see, right, this hairline piece here. This is where I'm going to go up into it. And that's going to be kind of my final diagonal section here. Go up just like that. So bleach is not a color. And because bleach isn't a color, it's kind of the vehicle that gets you to a point where you can put tone in, if that makes sense. So I just sectioned both diagonal sections off, and now I'm just going to clip off this fringe area here. Because that's where we're going to create that money piece in the front. So I use this. Bleach will take me up levels, and then when I get to levels, I have to decorate the hair, right? So it's kind of like putting in that foundation and then going in and adding whatever you want, the personal flavor to it at the end. Probably turn this so you guys can see better. Yeah. So paint that mid shaft heavily, and then feather your product up towards the base. I did this once without foils, and my roots turned orange. That's because you heavily probably saturated the base. You'll notice that there's not a lot of product in the base of my sections, so I don't end up with that bleed mark from the lightener, right? And I don't heavily, so when I feather towards the base or towards the front, which I'm going to show you guys, I'll try to show you in this section here. Turn it like that. All right. So the way that this is going to bleed is if underneath here, if I start pushing product in and heavily saturating this base, what's going to happen is that lightener will work its way through and then make the base orange. If I heavily saturate the mid shaft like this, and then slightly feather the lightener forward, then I don't have to worry about it going through it. So I'm using this product to just swipe through it and then pick it up and bring a little more towards it. Just like that. And then I get a good saturation. All right, so that's the top part. Now we have the front and the sides. That's what we're going to be working on. So I want to work on the front piece first. So this front piece is really the most important part for me, is to make sure that I have it nice and bright for my client. So lift her up a little bit. Focus. Allie, you're very welcome. All right, so here it is. This is where the money piece is going to happen. Everything in the front is the most important. It's what people really ask for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the front part here. And I'm going to be working my way back. So I'm just going to twist this up here and clip it to keep it out of the way. That. All right. So now I'm going to split this in half like that. And then this is how I'm going to start working. And I want to work over. So I'm going to start up high and then feather out. Okay. So let me see if I can move that out of the way. Let me turn her a little bit so you guys can see. So just like this. So like that. And I'm just going to hold it up in the air, elevate it. And then this one I'm going to bring all the way in and then start feathering out. And down. And I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So I want to really get those pieces starting to lighten up. Let's see if I can do this. Can't really show you guys this section without doing it not quick. So I'm just going to quickly feather in. I know you can't see that well. I'll show you more. But this might be a good view of how I go up higher here to the hairline and then feather in and get wider in this section as it drops down. So the brightest piece is that front center piece, but I don't want to color the entire section blonde. So I want it to feather out a little bit. So using that balayage hand painting technique through it is going to get me that end result. All right. Now, when I bring down the next horizontal section, like this is going to start feathering sooner. or later, not sooner. So we're going to go here. And it's going to be the same thing, but I'm not going to go as high with this piece, because I just want to accent the other piece. So I'll work a little bit up, but then feather it out towards the side, or towards the bottom. Just like that. I'm going to split the rest of this section in half and do the same thing a little bit further down. There you go. All right. And then this piece, I'm going to basically use it as a regular balayage piece here. So really saturate the mid shaft and then feather in the rest of the section. So just like that. And then paint up and get that V shape in there. Hard for you guys to see there. Let me make an adjustment on it. All right, so one more section. This one is not as high up as this one, right? So I'm going to turn her. You guys should be able to see pretty good here. So this is going to be started feathering lower. Can you see that a little bit? Lower and then working its way out. Key is to just make sure that you don't have any blobs of color throughout it, because that's where you'll get those kind of hot spots in there, because that's going to get brighter. We talk about saturation. The more saturation you have, the more lift you get. So if one section has a blob of color on it, that's what's going to be highlighted more than the piece next to it that doesn't have a lot on it. So you want to make sure that it's as even as possible on every section. Clip that away. And this last piece is a balayage piece. Turn her this way. And we'll balayage this piece out. And I'll work that V up. So I know you guys can't see it that well, but we're creating that V on the top. All right. I'm going to paint a little bit lighter on these ends here. Kind of work these sections together a little bit. All right. So now we're going to work these side sections. I'm going to comb everything back. And this we're just going to hand paint to create some soft feeling. So this I'll clip. I can clip these two together just to keep it out of the way because they're obviously both painted with brightness. And now I'm just going to go through and feather some lightener through around the face just to brighten that up a little bit. And then that is the technique. Super quick, done fast and easy. All right. The hardest part is showing you guys how. I think that'll be good. All right. Yeah, Jen, I hear you. We all miss work a lot. All right. So now I'm going to feather this whole piece just like this because I want to brighten right around her face. Just on the top portion of this section and work it back. I don't need it to be because I'm going to tone all of this. I just want to brighten it up, but I'm working up to the hairline and then off of it. So it's going to be a diagonal back line, so you guys can see here. So I'm holding a lot of hair in one section, but I don't need, like, I'm not trying to make her platinum, right? So I'm just trying to create a nice soft blonde. So starting in that mid shaft, working the lightener up to the base and then feathering down to the ends is the key, and then really saturating those ends through it. So what's going to look really cool is that these pieces right here in the front, these two really bold pieces, will fall from scalp to ends nice and blonde, and then they'll fade into these lighter pieces that are through the side, but they won't overwhelm the whole thing. So we'll get the most blonde out of those two pieces, and then we'll get the rest of it blonde, just like a nice soft light blonde. All right, saturating that mid shaft, working my way up to the edge of the hairline. All right, guys, and if you posted a question, I'm going to get to them right after this, right after I get this on. All right, working my way through. Feathering the lightener. Just like that. All right. So that's the technique. Let me clean up a little bit, and then I'll pull your questions up, and I'll also show you guys kind of how everything's laying and working. All right, move this over. Okay. How long do you process after the last section is done? Okay, great question. So we're going to work our way through this. We bring this up here. We zoom out. All right. So a lot of good questions. Look at this. Sweating in these lights. Okay. So autofocus is hilarious today. Great job, camera. Okay. All right. So how do I get away from that? All right. So a lot of great questions. Let's go through them one by one. Make sure if you have a question, just type Q and put your question. I know some of you guys haven't done that. I see some of them. But let's just make sure we do that so that I can easily see it to answer your question and so I don't miss it, really. All right, so Candace is saying, I feel like I leave spots with this technique. How do I get away from that? The biggest thing is what I said. So as I'm going through it, all of this is very evenly saturated. So I want to make sure that when I'm sectioning off the hair, when I'm painting the lightener on, I don't get any blobs of color. And I hate using that word blobs, but I try not to get blobs of color on there, because anytime there's more saturation on one part of the section and then less on the other, that's when you get those hot spots and the different, not even hot spots, they're just different levels of lift, because the one that's more saturated is going to get higher levels of lift than the one that's less. If that makes sense. All right. Next question. What products are you using? So what I used on this technique was Joico Free Play. So I use Free Play and 40 Volume from Lumishine Developer. These products work really well. Clay-based lightener helps get that lift. It's great for hand painting, doing balayage. So pretty much my choice in balayage lightener at this moment. All right. Monique, good question. How long do you process the last section when the last section is done? So this will process until it doesn't need to anymore. The biggest thing for balayage I've found is that when you think it's done, it's probably not done. You probably need a little bit longer, because the white lightener that sits on top of the hair tends to lie a little bit, tends to make it feel a little bit lighter. So what I'll do is, like, if I think it's done, I'll go 10 more minutes. So depending on the client and the hair, I'll just let it process until I feel like it's at the level I want to be at. Sometimes I only want to be at a level 8. In this case, I want to be at least a level 9. Probably won't get to a 10 on mannequin hair. So I want to be able to get it up there so then I can deliver a demi product or demi-permanent color that will then tone it and make it the way that I want it. Yeah, Lori, that's a great comment. So, and question. Let me see here. So she's saying, with the money piece, can you use a zigzag parting instead of a straight parting? You absolutely can. Like, this is what I want you guys to understand. Like, first off, I'm not a color expert. I'm just delivering you guys some education. Hopefully, you guys can grab some of this and do this even better than me. But the one thing is, like, I can easily take a technique and try to get creative with it, and I don't really have the fear of boundaries with trying things. The money piece is cool because it's that piece that people see. It's definitely a big trend at this point. So have fun with it. Do a zigzag parting and see how it comes out. My biggest thing for you guys would be do it on a mannequin. Try it out. If you have a mannequin somewhere that you just want to see how it works, that's the best way to do it. Or a friend or somebody in your family, you want to try it on, try that first. But yeah, absolutely. Do a zigzag technique for sure. All right. I think it would be great to evaluate your brush angle. Use the belly of the brush, not the tip of the brush, which will push product through the section. I had this trouble a lot first doing this technique. So Monique, good call, for sure. So if you look at the brush, let me see if I can sort of clean this off, talk to you guys about it, kind of explain what she's saying. So she's saying, instead of using the tip of the brush for this technique, using more of the belly of the brush. I like using the tip, to be honest, and that's probably why I like firm bristles, because I can use that to like paint and feather right using the tip of it. Some people like using, but when I go through some of these other sections, I am using the belly of the brush, so I'm pushing here, but then when I feather, I use just the tip edge of the brush. There are different brushes that are angled differently for this kind of technique. I just like using the same brush, just kind of shifted around. I think everybody has their own thing, like people struggle with certain things, so they change up their tool, and that helps them a lot. I think that's great to do that and make those adjustments, whatever works for you guys. Just play around with it. Would you recommend processing under a dryer? Nancy, that's a great question. So I would, depending. We have processors that we got from Minerva Beauty. Let me see if, there we go. So it's kind of a dryer, but it doesn't blow air. That's the one that I would recommend. I don't have it in here, but it just processes and circulates around the head and puts heat. It doesn't actually blow air onto it. Sometimes when it blows air, I feel like it moves the hair too much, and that's when you can get some unexpected things in your processing. How many hours do you think you should leave the lightener on an Asian black hair? I personally would not do this technique on black hair if I was trying to make it blonde. I know there are some people out there that do it, but I would probably use foil work with more tease, the more teased feel. I would like that incubation because honestly, I don't want to spend hours trying to do it, and I would probably do it in 2 or 3 visits instead of trying to do it all in one. Do you ever cover the hair with saran wrap to keep it from drying? Yes. So we talked about that. This would be a great technique to use saran wrap in between each section. It does keep it from drying up, and it also does keep it separated really nice. I had technical difficulties with this class, wanted to get this class going, was trying to get everything together, and didn't bring the saran wrap in the room. But I would use saran wrap throughout each section, probably in the salon 100% for this technique. Okay. There were some more. Did you use the same level of peroxide for the front as well? Yes. So you could use a lower level, but for balayage, I feel like it lives its life and processes to where it's going to go, and then it kind of stops. Like with foil work, you might use a lower volume in the back and then do a higher volume in the front. I want to use that higher volume all over so I get the same amount of lift. It'll lift till it lifts and then it stops. So I'm trying to get the maximum amount of lift out of every section. That's why I would use the same developer throughout it. So it's 40 volume developer through the whole thing. Let's see. I think we got those. Are you painting on the front? Good question here. Helene, maybe? Are you painting the front of her hair natural parting? Would you do the same if her parting was on the side? I would do it based on her parting. So That U shape I would still do very similar because that's a really nice kind of lived-in transitional look for side part or middle part. But then when I got to the fringe area and that money piece that's in the bang, I would paint it directly on where her part is going to be, or roughly in that area. And then I would do the sides the same, but I would just work through just a little bit different on a side parting. Great question. All right, cool. Jen, you're very welcome. Let's see if we have any other questions down here. Did you use metal clips? Is that okay with the heat in the metal? So these clips aren't touching her, so it would be okay. They might heat up in the process. They're aluminum clips, so they're not going to heat up that much. You could even take these clips out at this point. I just clipped them away just to do this piece, but now I could take the clip out and it wouldn't be a problem. All right, cool. What do you mean by doing it 3 times? Can you explain? Oh, yeah. So what I mean by this, so if somebody has, man, this camera is all over the place today. If somebody has really dark hair, right, and they come into the salon and they're like, I want to be blonde, well, that's a process. So when I say 3 times, that means I'm going to set them up with 3 visits. I'm going to do as much as I can to lighten them the first time, but without damaging their hair, and that's the goal. And then set them up for the second visit, which I'll get them even lighter. And then by that 3rd visit, people need to realize that coming into the salon when you have dark hair is not I'm not going to be able to do it right away. And some people do it, and I'm not saying that. But for me, as a color person, like doing color in the salon, I'm not going to try to just get somebody's money and spend all day with them and ruin their hair. I would rather do it gradually and work through it. All right, cool. So, is that everything, everybody? Yeah, kind of like a heat lamp, Sarah. It's very similar to that. Yeah, I would rather process with a heat-generated tool, not forced air. Joy, exactly. That's what it is. So it generates heat around it. It actually rotates around the head, and then you get, consistent results, and it's not blowing air on the hair. All right, can you say which Joico again you were using? So it's Joico Free Play. Let me put this over here. So this is the product. It's trying to see my face. There we go. I think what's happening with the autofocus is that there's so many heads and faces, the camera doesn't know which one's real. So that's that. I'm excited to see the final result. Chanel, yes, so am I. And like I said to you guys at the start of the class, and some of you guys jumped on later, this is going to be in tomorrow's episode. I'm going to show you guys the end result, and we're going to give it a haircut. I do these classes every day, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern time, or roughly as close as we can get it to that. Tomorrow's class, just so you guys know, will probably be around 1 or 2 o'clock. Not sure yet because it's the only inconsistent day that'll happen this week. Every other day will be at 12, but tomorrow I have an appointment, and so I have a feeling it's going to be around 1 or 2 o'clock. We'll do the class, and I'll show you guys this end result. Let's see. All right, do you have a clay lightener leaves the hair warm? So David, this is a great question. Do you feel like clay lightener leaves the hair warm, and would you use different lightener for ashier effect? So no, I don't believe, I believe in certain scenarios, balayage lightener leaves the hair warm, and that's because you don't foil it, right? So anytime you're not putting a foil in the hair, sometimes you don't get as much lift. So in certain cases, when somebody's hair is super dark, that result is going to be a little bit warmer on an initial balayage application. So a couple things you can do to help with that is use the lightener with saran wrap. So the saran wrap will help incubate it a little bit more, keep it wet a little bit longer. Use 40 volume and use heavy saturation of the product so that it incubates itself within the product and stays wet longer, so then you get more lift out of it. So those are a couple key things that I would say to you if you're using clay-based lightener to try to get the most out of it and the most lift. Sweetie, thanks so much. Appreciate that. How would you Crudy, I'm not sure that I understand the question, but no, you don't need 2 toners. You don't have to, but you could use them. All right, guys. So the one thing I would say to you guys is one thing I want you guys to do between now and tomorrow when we show you guys this end result and give you guys a haircut to play around with. What I want you guys to do is go download our FSE Now app. It's a free app. You can build your community profile, showcase your work, watch some of this education. You'll get alerts when we go live. All of those things happen. This is the app, so check out what it looks like and go download it. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the class today. Really excited for tomorrow to share more with you guys. Remember, we're going to get started a little bit later tomorrow, so make sure that you join our text thread. So text me, just say hi, 215-608-2612. Text me, say hi, and then I'll text you when I go live tomorrow so you guys can see the end result of this technique. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the FSE community and FSE family. I'll see you guys on the next show. Thanks so much. Have a great day.